Thanks, everybody, for coming out to this. I hope that I can say smart things that are useful. And I have spent a fair amount of my life now, over a decade, thinking about online video. Sometimes as a hobby, sometimes professionally. And over again, I've gotten stuff really, really wrong. And I wanted to talk today about a thing that I've gotten wrong, that lots of smart people in this industry have gotten wrong, mostly on the business side of the industry. We're going to finish off the creator track, by the way, by talking about business. I'm sorry. It's going to be pretty industry-focused talk. Because I think it's really important as creators to understand some of the broader forces at play. So this thing that we've gotten wrong over and over again, and that people have bet and lost billions of dollars on over the last 10 years. I think it's fascinating, and I'm starting to think that the conventional wisdom is not at all wise, and I want to talk about how this happened. So the story of businesses getting big is usually a story of consolidation. So you have a market hole that gets filled up, say like a hardware store. You need to buy plumbing parts. That has to exist somewhere. And so you have a bunch of small hardware stores that pop up in towns all over. And then eventually, those hardware stores, one is the best at it, and they start to buy up the other ones, and they consolidate so that there's one hardware store chain, and the ones that don't get bought up get put out of business. And then all the hardware stores start going out of business because the hardware stores have moved inside of larger stores that also sell a bunch of other stuff. They're giant stores that have video games and TVs and clothes and food in them. And in America, we have guns in these stores. It's very strange. You go get your wrenches and you get your diapers and you get your gun all in the same place. It's a beautiful dream come true. And then eventually, the big Uber store, the store at the end of the universe, will deliver you every product that exists in under a day, and that is the dream, I guess, of Amazon.com, and they will put everyone out of business, and there will be only one store left in the world. And this is a story that is really common in business. There aren't very many record labels. There aren't very many people who make cell phone operating systems. There aren't very many people who have airlines. It consolidates. That is the trend of business. But as Kevin just showed us, the people who are small in this industry have not gotten their content consolidated under one umbrella, but neither have the people who are really big. They work with big companies, but they are not owned and controlled by big companies. And that was the thing that we all thought was going to happen. And we thought somebody was going to get very, very rich. And so a lot of people fought to be that person or that company, and nobody ended up being that company. I want to talk about why I think that happened. So first, the thing to talk about is why consolidation happens in the first place. One, efficiency. And this is a real thing. It sucks to have everybody have their own ad sales team and to have their own marketing thing and their own tax accountants. This is inefficient. It's inefficient for my business. It would be better if we, it would be better. It would be we would all spend less money in total if we all had one company and they all had the same marketing team, the same tax accountants, the same merch store. All that stuff was all done. Two, so I actually think that is a little bit of a problem for us, but we're going to work through it. Two is investment. These big companies in the media space especially exist to invest in marketing and creating good content. I can't go make a movie. I don't have the money, I don't have the expertise, I don't know how to market a movie. I could write a movie, and then I would work with a big studio, and they would provide all of those things, and they would do it well. That's what their job is. And then number three, we have control. These content consolidators are very good and very ruthless about controlling intellectual property, so that once they make their investment, they can continue making a profit on their investment forever, apparently. All major music labels make lots and lots of money from people who died of old age a long time ago. It's pretty amazing. It's a good business to be in if you can be in it. We definitely have that first problem. This is not, this is a force for consolidation, and it does push for consolidation. We are inefficient. Our company, my company, we have an ad sales person on staff. We also work with FameBit, YouTube's platform for brand deals. We also work with our agency for brand deals, and then we have a separate company that we work with for brand deals called Standard. And that results in crossed wires all the time, and it's not, I think, the best system. Big companies in the content space have figured this out. Like, they have their own internal ad sales team, and that's all they have. And that is the case, for example, like, I think the best example of this is BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed has consolidated the creation of content. They are the ultimate example of a company that has done a pretty good job of content consolidation. And this means that they have a really efficient accounting system and marketing system, and like, they have done a lot of this work. But BuzzFeed points out why the other two forces in this industry are forces for fragmentation rather than consolidation. And I want to talk about that. First, investment, number two, isn't as important in online video, not because online video is cheap to make, but because online video needs to be cheap to make, because it is very hard to make money in this industry, because everyone has learned that paying for content is for chumps, apparently, and two, advertising blows on the internet. I don't know, like, TV advertisements make lots of money, internet advertisements don't. That's where we're at. It's been a long time, and it stayed that way. So I guess that's where we're at. If you're working on that, if anybody in this building is working on that, I hope that you can make it better. So that's one thing. Investment isn't as important. I think it's also culturally not as important. We have a world where investing too much in content can actually make it look less like online video and feel less legitimate to us, which is not usually how it works. Usually more investment means more legitimacy. And so you have this world where smaller, like, content that is cheap to make becomes the content that does well on YouTube. I'm not saying it's easy to make. I'm saying it's cheap to make. Gaming, beauty, both examples of things that are inexpensive to make well. They're not easy to make well. People in this industry get those things confused all the time, and it makes me mad. But they are cheap to make well. The other thing is this control piece. So in like traditional media, like if Jimmy Carr stops hosting 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, I will be very sad. But he will like do something else, and they'll get a new host for the show. It'll happen eventually, probably, maybe. That would be sad. I thank you, by the way, to whoever produces that show for not taking them down off of YouTube so I can watch them for free. But Jimmy Carr cannot say, actually, 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown is my show now, and I'm going to do it by myself, and you don't own it anymore. Everybody knows that I am the true spirit and vision of 8 out of 10 Cats. No, Jimmy Carr, that is owned by a thing. That's owned by a company, and you can't do that. But on BuzzFeed, The Try Guys is a show that was created by employees of BuzzFeed. It is legally owned by BuzzFeed, is produced, marketed, funded by BuzzFeed. But the Try Guys feel like they, as human beings, created this show. And we, their audience, also agree. Like, I recognize Countdown is not owned by the people who host and run Countdown. Like, the Countdown is owned by the company that owns Countdown. The Try Guys, I feel like the Try Guys aren't a show. Legally, they're a show. But to me, in my heart, to the world, in our hearts, the Try Guys are human beings. And if they want to go and start their own show and be like, we're the Try Dudes now, that is like, we'll be okay. And BuzzFeed can say, we'll sue you for that, but they won't. It's expensive. And also, they'll look terrible. They will look very bad, and we will all hate them for it. So they couldn't stop them. The Try Guys left. They just left. They happened quietly. But the Try Guys are now not part of BuzzFeed anymore. They took the value that was created by the company, and they were like, it actually seems like the value was created by people, and so we should own that. And they left. And that is amazing to me, and also wonderful, but also means that it might be a world in which that investment doesn't go into the show, it doesn't go into the genre, it doesn't go into the channel. The investment goes into the human beings, and they can walk away with it because we're human beings. That's really kind of cool. So I think this is good, like overall, this like force for fragmentation. It is inefficient. It's going to cost us more money. It does leave doors open to people who are going to scam these systems and who are going to come and try and scam creators. That's a thing we've seen. We've seen creators scamming companies. We've seen companies scamming creators, both ways. And also the investments have mostly failed that have been in this industry, either because people have walked away with the value that was created or because it just doesn't work and people are like, that doesn't look like online video. And that's bad to not have more investment in the space, but I think it is also good because it means that the thing that we wanted to thought was going to happen, didn't want to happen, thought was going to happen, didn't happen. I thought by 2019 there would be 3 to 5 big companies controlling all of the creation in this space. It's not a thing. It's so great. I'm happy about, yes, there's cultural components to that, but it's also, I think, like the nature of this business. It's the nature of this medium. Viewership does still consolidate. Don't let me tell you that that doesn't happen. PewDiePie obviously continues to be bigger and bigger, especially now that he's in competition with something else. That seems to help. But because of the lack of a model for investment or the lack of a need for investment, more of the money that is being made in this industry is going to the people who make the content rather than to the people who happen to have the money to pay for it. There are still gatekeepers. That is real. The biggest gatekeeper, of course, are the gatekeepers are the platforms and their algorithms. There are other gatekeepers. There's the companies that you might work with, the agencies. That world exists. But we're sort of blessedly free of the big controlling the whole thing gatekeepers that much of the rest of the content industry has. So I think this has gone better than expected, honestly. Online video remains independent, vibrant, weird, exciting, sometimes more gritty than I personally care for, but gritty nonetheless. And I think with the right idea, with a hunk of luck, with the right understanding of the forces at work here, it remains open to people. A lot of people that Kevin just showed me that I'd never seen before, which is what he does for a living. So I think that it remains open not to a few people making billions of dollars, but to a lot of people making good content that people like and also making some money. And I ultimately think that's pretty good news. So thanks for coming out to VidCon and listening to my sort of dry business talk. I hope that this is a great rest of the weekend for you and that you've had a good time so far. I really liked watching these keynotes here, and I hope you have a great VidCon.